with an non-stop day. It's safe to say we'll have some fun today on Geek World Radio.
Hey everybody, my name's Dave.
I'm Anime.
And you're watching the newest episode of Geek World Radio. So today we are going to go and do a little Kung Fu action!
Wow, you know that's legitimate because of the sound effects.
Today we are doing a Kung Fu show because The Man with the Iron Fist just came out.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the movie, but mainly this episode we're going to compare the movie The Man with the Iron Fists to The Kid with the Golden Arm.
That's right. I read a little list once. The RZA, he had listed some of his favorite movies. I know The Kid with the Golden Arm is one of his favorite Kung Fu movies.
Yeah.
And it's also one of our favorite Kung Fu movies. It's a great one of the best Shaw Brothers. And so we'll talk a little bit about The Man with the Iron Fist, which is RZA's new movie, and then, like Anime said, we will compare to The Kid with the Golden Arm from 1979. So, Anime, what did you think about The Man with the Iron Fist?
Well, I think I want to talk about this a little bit in terms of what it really is, which is a love letter to the movies, the martial arts movies of like the 60s and 70s.
Totally.
Movies like the Shaw Brothers films. In that respect, it really hit the mark, you know?
I agree.
There are very few movies that have been done recently that have wanted to capture that and have actually gotten it.
I totally agree with you. I think The Man with the Iron Fist definitely showcases the fun, the violence, how extreme it is, all the crazy names, all the crazy weapons.
Even the shooting style, you know, there are obviously modern tactics that have been put into play in the movie, but they really did a great job of a lot of the time trying to capture things, trying to capture the way that they did the wire work and the way that they did some of the martial arts in general and the way that they shot it in a way that matched those older movies.
I totally agree. You know, but I mean, I think the main thing for me is I loved everyone had a crazy name and everyone had a crazy weapon.
Yes.
You know, it was like the Gemini Killers and they were always fighting like a yin-yang style, like they were fighting like together every time, you know, and then there was like Golden Lion, Silver Lion, Bronze Lion, Brass Body, you know, X-Blade, like, you know, everyone had a cool name. Even Russell Crowe's character, who was not a Kung Fu master, he was Jackknifed, you know, everyone got their cool name, exactly. Everyone got a cool different weapon that was so unique, and I just thought, like, that is really a big part of why these movies work so great. And also a big part of The Kid with the Golden Arm.
Yes.
Also. So, Anime, we have a lot to say about The Man with the Iron Fist.
Yes.
But I think we should just wait until our radio show.
Yeah, we'll give a really full review there. So if you guys are interested in hearing our full review, we'll be doing it on the radio show this week, which airs on Thursday and Friday on Indie 100 and throughout the week on The Point.
So, Anime, let's compare and contrast.
Yes.
Man with the Iron Fist versus Kid with the Golden Arm.
Nice.
Now, what's cool about the Kid with the Golden Arm, if you haven't seen it, which you should see it, is this is part of the great Shaw Brothers era when they had the Venoms.
Yes.
You know, these, like, same, what was it, 5 guys who were in, like, almost every one of those movies. They all played different parts. Obviously, they're called the Venoms because of the 5 deadly Venoms, which is probably the most famous of all of these movies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could spend an entire show listing every single one. You know, I love Kid with the Golden Arms. I also love Invincible Shaolin. You know, there's just a ton of them, and we've seen a lot of them. So you could really make a argument on how a lot of the structure of the Kid with the Golden Arm is sort of what maybe the RZA and Eli Roth used to create the structure of The Man with the Iron Fist.
Absolutely.
I think the first thing that's pretty apparent is it starts off and it's all about gold.
Yes.
It's all about a bunch of crates of gold that are going from one place to another.
That need protection.
Exactly. And the protection from a gang.
Yes. In addition to the gang, there's this unknown other guy that the Emperor hired that is also going to be kind of in the background that will be keeping an eye on everything that's going on.
Exactly. So, I mean, right there, we already have a pretty significant chunk of what Man with Iron Fist is. You know, there's Golden Man with Iron Fist and Kid with a Golden Arm. It's the Cheesaw gang, which are the evil gang. In Man with the Iron Fist, they have the Lions.
Right.
So, like, let's just take a look at the hierarchy here for the Cheesaw gang in The Kid with the Golden Arm. They have the Kid with the Golden Arm. He's number one. You have...
Technically, he has golden arms. So...
Yes.
But the movie is called The Kid with the Golden Arm.
Yeah, and I think they call him Golden Arm in the actual movie.
I wonder if it's a mistranslation.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe only one arm is actually golden. Who knows? By the way, I love the fact he sounds like a James Bond villain. I just love that. Okay, so you have golden arm, silver spear, iron robe, and brass head.
Yeah.
Right? That's who it
Brass
is, right?
head.
Now, let's look at Man with the Iron Fist, where you have the lions. The leader is Golden Lion,
Yep.
then Silver Lion,
Yep.
Bronze Lion.
Yeah.
They also hire like another assassin, and his name is Brass Body.
Yep.
So right there, it's like it's pretty clear, that there's obvious sort of similarities going on here, and similarities that were obviously meant to be.
Yeah. It was definitely meant to pay homage to something like the kid with the golden arm.
Yeah, and then along with that, like you were saying before, there is this character named Haito, which I believe is probably your favorite kung fu character of all time.
First off, I love the actor who plays Haito,
Yes.
Philip Kwok. I just adore him.
Philip Kwok is awesome.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And isn't he like one of the bad guy assassins in in
Hard Boiled.
Hard Boiled,
He's one of the bad guys, and he's Mad Dog in Hard Boiled.
He's just amazing. He's also an amazing fight choreographer.
Yeah, he really is. I think he did the fight choreography for Brotherhood of the Wolf.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
He's just a really good actor for those movies. And,
He's really awesome.
And he is so funny as Haito.
Yeah, he's amazing. And
Hey,
basically...
Dave, they say the wine is his best friend.
Exactly, that's the thing. He's basically a drunken fist fighter. And so basically, if you look at the Man with the Iron Fist, you have Jackknifed, which is Russell Crowe's character, which is the guy that's there to kind of, make sure that the gold ends up in the place it should be. Instead of being drunk, he does opium all the time. And he's like a specialized dude who's a total badass.
Yeah.
I have to point out that Jackknife basically has a Final Fantasy gun knife.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is
not a
kind of
gun
amazing.
sword.
No.
It's a gun knife.
Yes.
And it's awesome.
It's totally awesome.
So some other characters in The Man with the Iron Fists that kind of compare to Kid with the Golden Arm is in The Kid with the Golden Arm there's long axe and short axe.
Yeah.
And they can kind of be equated to the Geminis,
Yeah, the Gemini Killers.
The Gemini Killers.
Gemini Killers. Actually, I think it was Killers.
Yeah, but it's like the pair of characters that do their fighting together, and
And their weapons both are like they have something to do with one another.
Yeah.
Like the Gemini Killers had those like crazy sort of. They're not really axes, but they like connect to one another and they can use them together. But yeah, I mean, there's also some really specific things that are like, like there's a scene in The Kid with the Golden Arms where the swordsman Lee, he's fighting all these guys in an inn, and then all of a sudden somebody breaks through the wall and uses like the Buddha palm basically on him to poison him. And this is just like in Man with the Iron Fist where the lions are fighting and all of a sudden, one of the rice paper walls gets broken and Poison Dagger spits out poison darts. But it's not just The Kid with the Golden Arm.
No.
I mean, what's great about this is it is, like you said, an homage to pretty much all of these movies in the 60s and 70s. One of my favorite things of homage, what's great about the beginning of The Kid with the Golden Arm is they have just all the actors in their costumes in a red room just going, ha, huh, ha, with like, the credits going next to them, and that was the beginning of the movie. They actually did that at the end of The Man with the Iron Fist, with every actor dressed up.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because you never see that, and that's what's so cool about it.
Could you imagine if they had done that as the opening credits?
Oh, yeah, people would have
just
walked
been
out.
like, really?
Yeah, exactly. So they had like an insane action scene. Yeah, totally.
I thought one of the other fun things that they did was the amount of blood.
Yes.
Like, one of the hilarious things in the old martial arts movies is that when people would bleed, the blood would come like Monty Python style, squirting out of people.
It's just a flesh wound.
Like geysers of blood. And they took that to the extreme in The Man with the Iron Fist.
Totally. Some of the other things that are like is obviously there's Brass Body. Now, Brass Body in The Man with the Iron Fist is sort of like two different characters from The Kid with the Golden Arm.
Right.
He is both like, brass head, obviously, brass head. But mostly he's like the Kid with the Golden Arm, who basically, his body was invincible.
Yes.
He's essentially an iron pugilist. You couldn't really hurt him. Because he was essentially made out of iron. What was really cool is Man with the Iron Fist, they actually have CGI, so they can make him look like he's made out of brass.
Yeah. Now, if they had CGI back in the day, do you think that they would have used it, or do you think they would have preferred it to stay as like human looking?
I think they would have kept it human looking because there was a lot of mythology
Right.
about that there were certain guys who basically had bodies as hard as iron that, you know, you couldn't, that like weapons would break on them. And that's a little scarier, you know, but at the same time, in the modern age that we live in, it's cool to see, especially when they never really did a good job with Colossus and the X-Men. There's also the scene in The Kid with the Golden Arm where, like, you know, Haito saves Lee, who gets poisoned. There's actually 2 occasions in The Man with the Iron Fist where that happens, where a character gets another character and sort of nurses them back to health. And also, the another big thing is the fact that a big part of The Kid with the Golden Arm is when people aren't, like, you know, beaten to death or kicked to death or sliced in half, they are actually getting poisoned a lot.
Yeah.
And poison was also a big part of what happened to the Man with the Iron Fist, since there was Poison Dagger, who was always sort of assassinating everybody. But, you know, that's just some of the stuff. And like we said, it's not like it's the same movie. Not by any means. I think the best way to look at it is it's certainly homage. They certainly took some of the basic structure with the gold, with the gangs, with some of the names. But it is a great homage to all of these kung fu movies.
I think that they are both really fun, and I think if you guys are fans of the 60s and 70s martial arts films, I think you'll really get a kick out of The Man with the Iron Fists.
I agree, and I think also for the show this week, we will talk about some of our favorite kung fu movies, including those from the 70s. So you can get a good idea of some of the other ones you should watch if you really dug The Man with the Iron Fist and have never really dove into the 70s era kung fu movies.
So you guys should make sure to tune into the radio show this week on Indie 100 and The Point, and check out our website, geekworldradio.com. Also, if you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email to geekworldradio@yahoo.com.
But thanks so much, guys, for watching, and make sure to listen to our radio show, and we will see you next week. Bye!
Well, now it's time to loot with an non-stop day. It's safe to say we'll have some fun today on Geek World Radio.